Good evening to everyone. I'm Archana Chatterjee, Program Manager at the IUCN India Country Office, and I take great pleasure in welcoming you all for this short but I think impactful, very impactful last session of day one of this big conference. Basically, like Jaidev mentioned, this session is about how we can move towards resilient urban futures and what are the opportunities for freshwater conservation using NBS, which is the nature-based, or in some ministries we call it ecosystem-based approaches. Basically, the whole idea behind this session was that India is urbanizing at such a fast pace all across, from mountains to the coasts. And some of these are very vulnerable systems. Even urban systems are very vulnerable, as we have seen: urban flooding, urban heat stress, and God knows what all is coming in, it lies in our wake. So to look at how this is going to use nature-based solutions, IUCN is also globally focusing a lot on the urban the urban issues and how we can scale it up. And we have this very impactful program which was unveiled at the World Conservation Congress last year, which is titled the new strategic vision for IUCN, Unite for Nature. And in this particular program, the strategic vision, which is for 2030, one of the transformational action areas is on sustainable cities, where water security and stewardship are priority areas for us. So it is in this context that this session and the expertise that we have available for deliberations today becomes very, very important to drive how IUCN India Country Office can also collaborate in this endeavor. And also, as you all know, that IUCN also is working on the global NBS standards, which basically help us to understand what is an NBS, what is not. And the version 2 of NBS standards is also available now. So a lot of these tools are there which IUCN is developing. We also have the Urban Nature Index, which is again a tool where we can measure some of the outcomes of our interventions in the urban areas through nature-based solutions and other aspects. As we have a lot of time constraint, I'll just shorten my speech and also warmly take this opportunity to warmly thank NIUA for partnering with us. NIUA's urban mandate and IUCN's expertise in nature conservation together make us good, ideal partners to move towards this mainstreaming of urban NBS and ecological logic across India's city agenda. And I would also like to thank all our esteemed panelists who will be, taking up the panel session in the next round, and welcome them. And specifically, I would like to welcome Professor C.R. Babu, Professor Emeritus, Delhi University, who's we all stand to benefit today through his long-standing expertise in this area in biodiversity conservation, nature conservation, and through the work that his long journey and the impactful work that he has done in this area. We also have, I think we're waiting for also Dr. Debulina Kundu, who is the director of NIUA. She will be hopefully joining us shortly and will be chairing the session. So without further ado, I would like to, also look at the expectations from the session that we have today to build an understanding of what urban nature-based solutions are and why they are valuable for India's cities, especially through a freshwater lens. So that we are looking at. And this is also important from IUCN perspective because globally IUCN is also leading on a freshwater challenge, which has certain targets globally to restore our rivers and our wetlands and also conserve them. And some of this will come from working in the urban areas as well. surface the persistent barriers that limit NBS from becoming a mainstream choice for decision makers in the cities, the ULBs, the planners, and the whole ecosystem, the whole urban ecosystem of actors which drive the urban planning agenda. So how NBS can be integrated across this whole chain and the ecosystem. How do we do that? And also identify practical enabling pathways to scale NBS and increase impact in India's urban development agenda, drawing directly from the panel's insights and career experience. We also aim to learn from the ongoing initiatives that demonstrate successful NBS applications in India in response to urban priorities. And a lot of work is going on in India. It's important. I mean, NBS is not something new born today, but it has been there. But right now we have tried to bring it under an umbrella and to make it an attractive term, which is nature-based solutions, to give it more prominence and which helps in scaling up as well and financing. So thank you for all of you for being here, and I now hand over to Jaidev to take forward the proceedings.
The session is split into two parts. So there are two presentations. I will deliver one talking about IUCN's urban agenda, how it has evolved. We'll briefly look at the concept of nature-based solutions, what they are and what they are not, and what the value they brings for urban development. And then I'll invite my colleague from NIUA to talk more about the Indian space, what's happening vis-a-vis urban ecological planning. And we have a special remark, and we are really honored that it will come from Professor C.R. Babu, showing his pioneering work on the under the Delhi's urban biodiversity park program. And after that, we'll move to the panel discussion. So starting from how this urban agenda has evolved within IUCN, it's a bit appropriate that we also introduce about IUCN. So as you can see on the slide, it's the world's largest and oldest environmental network, formed in 1948. It's a union, as the name suggests, so it has membership composing from the government. State are our members, about 90 countries are member of IUCN. Then we also have subnational governments, we have indigenous peoples organization as our members, we have mechanisms to work with the private sector. India has a special connection with IUCN. During its foundation in Paris, in France in 1948, there were about representation from 28 countries, and I think Mr. Homi J. Baba was representing India. And then I think Swaminathan sir was also one of the president of IUCN. And Ashok Khosla ji. So, and India joined NIUA in 1969. IUCN in 1969, and we have office in India since 2007. Just to touch upon some of the work, so we have been shaping up global discourse and conservation agenda through our work with various conventions and international agreements. Some of them are listed there. So for example, Ramsar Convention for Wetland Conservation, we host the convention in our headquarters in Switzerland. We have been playing key role in shaping other conventions, such as the Convention on International Trade of Endangered Species and the Convention on Biological Diversity. Without IUCN's work, you may all be very well aware of the red listing that we do, identifying species at threat and the measures that are required for their protection or conservation, without which the extinction rate would have been 3 to 4 times higher. And we also do a lot of work for protection of conservation areas, and we have tools such as green listing, which nations adopt to measure their performance as to how they're doing. And we can see that our action has led to an expansion of conservation area by 6-fold. So now coming to the urban agenda and how it now shapes our program of work. IUCN acknowledged that majority of world's population is urban, and the urban people will be playing a key role in shaping the nature conservation agenda. So for that, in the 2016 IUCN World Conservation Congress in Hawaii, the union adopted urban conservation in the work program that we have. And after that, we had a resolution called 67, where we have formed an urban alliance. This is basically helping us mainstream and consolidate the work on urban nature conservation into our program. And since then, there has been an increasing momentum around biodiversity and urban conservation, both globally and within IUCN. There are a lot of projects where we use, apart from setting up standards and technical guidance, we also use art, media, and research and advocacy approach to advance this agenda across a number of countries globally. You are welcome to check more about the IUCN Urban Alliance, the tools and products we have online. And another important moment came when in 2021, IUCN opened up its membership to sub-national governments, which means now cities and local bodies can also become member of IUCN. And we already have cities like Paris, Mexico City, Quebec, Hamilton, and many more, about 60 plus cities who are already member of IUCN. And we are looking forward to ensure how Indian cities and entities can also join IUCN as a sub-national member. So with that, you can see, and I think Archana ji mentioned about our strategic vision, which highlights about 8 transformational areas. Now sustainable cities has become one of the key transformation areas where IUCN think that urgent actions are required. We knew it's a challenging work for an agency who's worked for over decades on conservation, but not much on urban planning and development. And for that's why we are trying to develop new ways and partnerships to generate ideas, and that's why we are here. We're also looking for ideas from you and how we can cooperate better within the context of India. I will not read much about what it says in the program of work about cities. So these are some of the tools that we have. So since 2016, since the adoption of urban agenda in our program of work, these tools and products have gained significant recognition among urban planners, architects, municipal officials in their journey to secure nature positive development. And for example, making nature city toolkit, I don't know if you can see, it's on under the tools in the left column, and it basically distills biodiversity science and urban design strategies for, say, urban planners and decision makers to support integrating biodiversity and human health when they design urban space, and it draws on much of the work done by other cities in developing their urban nature and reaching ecological outcomes. So would like to pause here because we're talking about nature-based solution and it has become a buzzword. I thought it's good time to understand and unravel what this concept is. So this, you can see, is a definition that's given by IUCN. I think it's fairly accessible and many of you may be familiar, but through our interaction and travels, we have learned that it still appear amorphous to people. They are, it's malleable. They're using it to suit their purpose sometime, but it's not true to the spirit of what IUCN's definition of nature-based solutions are. I'll quickly read. So what IUCN says that these are actions to protect, sustainably manage and restore natural or modified ecosystems, be it terrestrial, freshwater or marine, to ultimately achieve societal benefits as well as biodiversity. What we have often seen is biodiversity always remains a byproduct of projects. It's not defining the design choices or principles of people who are making the projects. So as per IUCN's definition, you have to attain biodiversity benefit and societal benefit for your solutions to be called nature-based solutions. So a little quiz, you can see 3 images, let's call them image 1, 2 and 3 from left to right. Maybe a show of hand, and or if you just want to come in, which of these are nature-based solutions? So what we see, an image on the left is a coastal area, a nutrient and food exchange between land and water, forest or maybe mangrove is there, and a settlement close to it. Second is obvious, is wind farm drawing wind energy, and then a modern building that we can see. So which among the 3 will be a nature-based solution, or could all 3 of them are nature-based solutions? Anybody would like to take guess? I will not be calling names, so if nobody... All right, who else? Everybody agrees that it's the first one which is nature-based solution? Second one, all right. So I guess for the sake of time, I'll just answer. So the second one, ma'am, is nature-derived solution. So nature-derived solution, just as we see here, wind energy, solar, which is where we derive from the power of nature. But for our meeting our production needs, but these are energy sources coming from nature, but not directly based on the functioning ecosystems. I will come on that, what I mean when I say functioning ecosystems. Let's look at the other one. This is nature inspired solution. Again, not a nature based solution, because here we are using innovative design and maybe producing materials, structures or systems that mimic nature, that are based on or are inspired by the way nature functions. But again, I mean, you all may be knowing this word called biomimicry. Architects and urban planners love it these days. So it's a practice that learns and mimic, as I had mentioned, from strategies found in nature to solve challenges. But again, not a nature-based solution, because it's not based on functioning ecosystem. So perhaps you were right, Nidhi ma'am, that first one is the nature-based solution. And they are using the power of functioning ecosystems and the services that they provide as core natural infrastructure. IUCN, and I think ma'am has also mentioned that we have defined about 8 criteria to guide people, adopt NBS better. I will not go through all of them, but as I had mentioned, first these need to address societal challenge, be it flood risk management, heat management, as we see is a growing concern in urban areas. So it has to solve a societal challenge, but it simultaneously also have to achieve biodiversity benefit. And it has to work at a scale. So I'm gonna take maybe a controversial opinion. I had thought a lot, should I say it or not, but here I come. So I was in Meghalaya and everybody talking about the living root bridge as nature-based solutions, and I'm just being humble. I've learned from what I'm reading, so I don't think it's a nature-based solution. They are inspired by the way roots interact and are helping you cross over the stream, but they are not improving the ecosystem, its integrity, the way different components interact, natural, unnatural, and we are not actually improving any ecosystem services. So for those who don't know, there are about 4 ecosystem services. We talk about provisioning, cultural, regulatory. So we're not improving that and using that to meet any problem that we are solving. So it's important to call a spade a spade. And then some of the benefits that NBS provides. So I was just looking at the global wetland outlook for 2025, and it says that wetland alone, I mean these ecosystems, the service they provide, it's packed at $40 trillion, which is about 37% of global GDP. And for India, we have already lost 1/3 since 1970 as per the Wetland International Assessment. And NBS are also equally important for meeting 1/3 of the mitigation goal that we need to reach by 2030. We all may have heard of peatlands. It's a type of wetland. They only occupy 3% of the land surface compared to forest, which occupy 30% of the earth's surface. But peatlands store twice as much carbon as forest, and if they're not managed, they will even release. So these are critical infrastructure, and we need to understand the services they provide when we are designing any project. India's cooling debate is expanding as well, from emission control to risk management, because this is an issue of equity. Our street vendors, people who are working on the street, electrician, plumbers, they cannot afford refrigeration and cooling. And NBS are also increasingly recognized for their core role as urban cooling infrastructure. Tree green and green infrastructure help improve ambient temperatures. Wetlands, water bodies, through their evaporative cooling and say moisture regulation, they also regulate climate. So these are critical infrastructure, and it's time that we start embedding them into our planning choices and decisions. There are certain examples that I thought I will put up. Certainly some of them are from the global north. Say Glasgow have increased their green cover by 20%, and they are expecting that by 2050 they will cut their urban heat island intensity by half. So green infrastructure are now recognized and measured for the benefit that they are providing. Philadelphia has seen a 200% return on investment for green infrastructure compared with grey only infrastructure. In India also we have certain examples. Ahmedabad has recently developed a heat action plan, and they are talking about greening and shading alongside certain structural measures like early warning system. Chennai and Coimbatore are also using wetland, have recognized the role of water body restoration for heat flood resilience. And one more thing we need to keep in mind, that NBS provides co-benefit. So I'll give an example of Seoul, and it's from a city called Cheonggae, where they had a river which was covered. They opened it up. Surely it boosted economy, brought people closer to the nature, must have improved their temperature and climate. But they did a survey and they found that people started using public transport more because the way spaces are designed, it was more inviting. So NBS also always have co-benefit, and we need to integrate them in our planning frameworks. This is my last slide, and I'm just showing you certain swimming pools. These are smart city led water body projects, and I think you all can very well see and feel for yourself how they are designed, and they leave a lot of room for improvement and integration of nature-based solution. I was just reading a news a couple of months back. A big multi-donor, lending agency approved about $450 million project to develop a riverfront project. Let's not call it, say the name. And I'll tell you what it had as per its DPR, or its profession of what can work. So promenades, walkways, cycle tracks, plazas, amphitheaters, viewing decks, list is long, play areas, smart toilets, kiosks, food courts, hard embankments, beautification, edges, parking, desilting, trash skimmers. So this is what will be taking up 450 million USD, and this is the nature of all the projects that we are seeing in India. And these are not bad. They significantly boost economy. They connect people with their local water bodies, promote mobility for sure, but there is still room for improvement and perhaps integration of nature-based solution, and for the role, as we have mentioned, the role they can provide. I think so. In India, the space is very exciting. A lot of good work is also happening. We have this Nagar Van Yojana, and Indore and Udaipur have been recently recognized as wetland cities. So there is a lot of opportunity as well. And to talk more about that space, I'll now invite Dr. Mahreen from NIUA.
Hi, good evening, everybody. It's good to see a room full of people, and I hope you will have a good deliberation across. I represent the National Institute of Urban Affairs, a think tank of Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs. However, the context has been set. Can I have the pointer? Set a context with regard, very briefly. We all know that India's urban transition is unfolding at a very unprecedented rate, and Indian cities as a whole are on the front line with regard to climate change, battling intensive heat, drought, flooding, and then we have the biodiversity loss and ecological degradation. So if we look at the whole gamut with regard to the notion of cause and effect to the sustainable development, we all know that with the changing climate, there is which is resulting into erratic weather conditions and natural disasters which are out of our control. But what about the anthropogenic drivers with regard to land use, land cover change, coupled with poor planning and carrying capacity, mainly in fragile areas, for example, the Indian Himalayan range, causing unsustainable development, ensure keeping in view the service delivery affected, infrastructure damaged, tourist impact, and the overall impact which it has on biodiversity as a whole. Keeping in view all this aspect, where does NIUA come? Being a think tank of Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs and working with, apart from the urban ministry, also with Ministry of Jal Shakti and Ministry of Environment and Forest, over the years NIUA has been into the foray of planning and making attempts, providing frameworks with regard to how we ensure that cities' ecosystem can help in leveraging the climate adaptation. And on these aspects, the whole notion of how natural ecosystems can play an important role with regard to their integration into the urban fabric and ensuring resilience, sustainable, and healthy environment, be it through green infrastructure, which we promote, be it through nature-based solutions, be it through biodiversity, and two more important components which we deal is sustainable resources with regard to water and waste, and also equity, social equity, when it comes to communities, especially urban poor. One of the areas is the program is the urban river management, which is across the river cities of India. This is a program which has been under the National Mission of Clean Ganga. And if we started, it's a 10-point objective plan, which focuses on environment, economics, and social aspects. So we were given the mandate to prepare an urban URMP framework for Kanpur based on our work of assessing the ecosystem of the city and providing solutions based on the assessment. We were given the mandate to further make URMPs for 5 more cities across UP and Maharashtra, and then a larger mandate given by NMCG and working with World Bank for across 60 cities across India. And the more on a holistic approach, where we talk about water, where we talk about sanitation, where we talk about ecology, and not to forget the community. Because whenever we have to make an intervention, it has to be holistic, and which was also mentioned in the last panel, that how we ensure that community mobilization is pivotal in making any intervention per se. And all these solutions, how we can tap the finance from various missions, be it Swachh Bharat, be it Amrut, be it NMCG. The second intervention is a partnership between NIUA and IUCN, which is with regard to providing, which is called an EPIC program, which is the proliferating ecosystem-based adaptation practices in Indian cities. So the city which was being taken into consideration was Bhubaneswar, because you will get a flavor of different ecosystems, be it with regard to wetlands, rivers, urban forest, so on and so forth. And there were 2 objectives with regard to this initiative. One is to sensitize the urban local bodies with regard to how mainstreaming ecosystem-based adaptation practices can help in leveraging climate adaptation. And second, we provided them a complete database with regard to what type of nature-based solutions can be used with regard to different typologies across the city. Another intervention related to what we will be talking is the Parvat Manthan, which is a forum which works across the Indian Himalayan range and also in the Hindu Kush, Nepal, and Bhutan. With regard to water and sanitation, keeping in mind the fragile ecosystem, business as usual cannot work. What works in plains can't work in hills. So how customized solutions, majorly nature-based or decentralized, can work in these areas. This is the intervention which is a 2-year-old work which we are doing. And under this, we use the framework, the World Bank framework called Citywide Inclusive Sanitation. in ensuring that whatever planning which we are doing is much more holistic in nature. For example, if you talk about Mussoorie, keeping in view Uttarakhand in the whole Indian Himalayan range, we face flash floods. We face what you call flooding. And how do we ensure that a decentralized approach can work in those areas, keeping in view also the tourism thing. Second is Rudrapur, which is a city, an industrial city in Uttarakhand, and a nature-based solution has been provided in order to have a fecal sludge treatment plant, which was been also mentioned. These words like resonated in the last session also. Keeping in view that flooding is in that area, keeping in view how to ensure pollution abatement, how nature-based solution can work. Another, when we talk about ecosystems or when we talk about the whole ecological planning, how do we ensure that communities, especially in low income, are being provided with interventions which help in gauging towards a healthy environment. And this is somewhat which is being done in Lal Kuan, a very small ULB, about 90,000 or even less than that population. So various interventions, keeping in view the typologies, various frameworks which NIUA is supporting and also submitting to various agencies, working with states, ULBs, and at national level is something which we are working on. This is a much more detailed work which the NIUA has conducted with regard to Darjeeling on the framework of city sanitation plan and citywide inclusive sanitation, keeping in view the basic service entities, be it with water supply, access to toilet, stormwater management, and following the CWIS matrix, 3x3 matrix, where the outcomes, be it with regard to equity, safety, sustainability, is based on responsibility, accountability, resource management, and And the interventions are keeping in view the whole biodiversity view into consideration. Yeah. So if we talk about the learnings or the proposed interventions with regard to Darjeeling are towards equity, safety, and sustainability in order to ensure long-term environmental, operational, and financial viability of the various interventions through to the various basic needs. Based on our work in the hills, in December, the Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs came up with this initiative called Clean Himalayan Hill Cities Initiative, in which NIUA is one of the partners. And the whole alignment of this initiative is with regard to the national vision of Viksit Bharat and ministry's reflection and its commitment towards development pathways that are resilient, inclusive, and ecologically sensitive. And one of the highlights of this whole deliberation was with regard to carrying capacity, which the secretary emphasized on, ensuring why we are talking about carrying capacity. And we all are aware of the fact that I think 1.5 years before the NGT order was there, that many of the cities in the Himalayas are exceeding their carrying capacity. So how do we establish clear and replicable methodologies to access sustainable thresholds of population growth, tourism, intensity, and economic activity, and overall recognizing that the true financial, environmental, and service delivery costs of operating beyond ecology and infrastructure limits. And on this, and with regard to the carrying capacity, NIUA has done a work in Nainital to understand the effective carrying capacity vis-a-vis to basic needs, be it with water, sanitation, and solid waste. And the findings are very alarming. So we'll talk about that sometime later. But these are some of the main areas where we are working, keeping in view planning, ecology, biodiversity as a whole, and ensuring that whatever interventions are being coined or being proposed are ensured that they are context specific per se. And yes, that is where I end my presentation. But my colleague Uday is here, which if you would want to add something, Uday, if I missed.
Perfect.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Is in which NIUA is embedding in nature-based solution in everyday practices of city planners and authorities. You mentioned urban river management plan as one of the framework that is trying to connect cities or existing statutory tools and frameworks with more river-centric or water-centric approach for urban planning. And your work is really amazing. It covers, I think, from Bhubaneswar to Rudrapur and Nainital in hills. Really reflect the diversity of challenge and ask in front of us from our cities. What I also liked is what you presented about how you're connecting the ecological thinking, or basically how you're connecting city planners with this concept of carrying capacity so that they can appreciate and build in the various dynamics of ecosystems around their cities. So these are some good work we can build on. And so now we'll turn to New Delhi and look at some of the work done in Delhi. And for that, I'm really honored to call Professor C.R. Babu, who is a professor emeritus at the Delhi University and founding director of the Center for Environmental Management of Degraded Ecosystems, which he helped establish. Sir, please, you're welcome.
Let me thank the organizers for inviting me for this event and ask me to say something about what we have been doing. Distinguished participants, it's a pleasure for me to come here and talk to you a few things which I have to say to all of you regarding the ecology, biodiversity, and water, and so on. What I want to say to you is that I have not brought any slides because the time that has been given to me is 10 minutes. In 10 minutes, I cannot show you what we have been done. So therefore, my talk would be very, very simple, and I deal with the three issues, and then I'll say something about the standardization of the NBS. Now let me tell you, we should find out why we are talking all this, because there is something wrong with our ecosystems. Now what is that wrong? We must specify first. Urbanization has wiped out our natural heritage, that is the natural forest ecosystems, in the developmental matrix of all our urban centers. This actually led to the environmental deterioration, which in turn, what you call, has an adverse impact on the quality of life. This is the issue. Now, why this happened? We have lost what you call our natural forest ecosystems, and in place, what we have a parks and gardens which provide aesthetics, beauty, spirituality, and recreation, but do not provide ecosystem services. You may ask, what do you mean by ecosystem services? Take, for example, purification of the air, and reduction in the heat load, and buffering the ambient temperature, and sequestration of carbon dioxide, recharging of the groundwater, and mitigation of heat island formation. All these services cannot be rendered by the few individuals of one or two species of trees that we have in the parks and gardens. This can be served only by what you call structure and composition of our lost ecosystems. So therefore, if you want to really, what you call, address these issues and make the cities livable, you need to restore back the lost ecosystems, natural ecosystems. Now, how to restore these natural ecosystems? Now, let me tell you, when you talk about the urban centers, you don't have only one kind of ecosystem. You have diverse ecosystems. So we must restore them back to their, what you call, full functionality. Now, for that, we have evolved, after careful thinking, the concept of biodiversity. The biodiversity involves all the restoration of all the ecosystems that are present on a degraded landscapes in the urban areas. And in fact, they are nature reserves and provide what you call the cultural, educational, conservation values, and render a wide range of ecosystem services that I mentioned just a few seconds ago. Now, therefore, you may ask me, how you restore these ecosystems back? How you restore a wide range of ecosystems as a part of the biodiversity parks? Now, let me tell you, there is one young science that is called ecological restoration. That ecological restoration is a nature-based solution. It is the principle on which we develop these biodiversity parks. Now, let me tell you, we have restored all the river ecosystems present along the river Yamuna in our Yamuna Biodiversity Park, which I have not brought it. I wanted to bring it, but the time is very short. Now, there is a separate aspect. We also restored the Aravali ecosystems. We have about 35 different ecosystems in the Aravali Biodiversity Park, spreading over an area of 692 acres in the heart of the city, and providing a wide range of ecological services, including mitigation of the heat island and reduction in the AQI values, and also recharging the aquifer system, and what you call reducing the, or moderating or buffering the ambient temperature. Now, I don't want to go further into this. Now, I just want to tell you that we need ecological restoration to develop or to bring back our dead ecosystems to their natural state. And we have used this ecological restoration in the development of the biodiversity park. Now, biodiversity park is in a large landscape involving a large number of ecosystems. Now, how biodiversity parks rejuvenate rivers is a challenge. And I think the National Institute of Urban Planning is also involved in this, and National Mission King Ganga is also involved in this. Now, let me tell you, we look river just the flowing water ecosystem. No, the river has what you call network, a complex network of ecosystems. It includes not only the flowing water ecosystem, riparian ecosystem is a specialized ecosystem which contributes to purification of the water. And then we have a wide range of floodplain ecosystems like floodplain forests, grasslands, marshes, wetlands. All these are the ecosystem of floodplains. And then you have a, what you call the embankment ecosystems. That is, and then you have a upland embankment ecosystems. You can call it as a riparian buffers. And then you have an upland ecosystems. All these ecosystems have a high ecological integrity, and this ecological integrity contributes to the health of the rivers, which in turn what we call determine the quality and quantity of the stream flows. Now, simply what we call treatment of polluted water would not bring out the rejuvenation of rivers. You need to bring back all the degraded ecosystems of the river if you want to say that your river is rejuvenated and is in healthy condition and providing quality and quantity of water. Until this is done, it cannot be done. Now, we have a model where we restore all the ecosystems of the river, the floodplain ecosystems, the riparian ecosystems, and you have the embankment ecosystems and river basin ecosystems, quite good number in the University Park. I invite all of you, you come and see it, where we have also have a leopard which has been living for the last 20 months as a part of the ecosystem. It's not going, it's within the system because it has enough food base. We have large number of wildlife which have arrived from the Brazil National Park, and you can see. And if we replicate this Biodiversity Park all along the 52-kilometer stretch of the river, our river can be rejuvenated, and this what you call 52-kilometer stretch of the Biodiversity Park will not only preserve the what you call natural heritage of the entire river, but also contribute to the urban environmental sustainability. All right. Coming to my last part of it. Now, when we talk about biodiversity park, it also involves treatment of sewage water that passes through what you call the floodplains, and that comes from the upland ecosystems and enters into the river. We have decided how to handle this. Again, we look back about nature-based solutions. Now, I know there are 15 nature-based solutions which have been widely used in different states, but all of them have certain limitations. And we, as a member of the technical committee of the Haryana Pond Authority, we suggested to the Haryana government, you give one pond to each of the what we call expert who is providing these technologies. So there are 15 ponds which have been what we call used for testing the what we call functionality of these 15 what we call nature-based solutions, but we found none of them are up to the mark. There are many issues in the nature-based solution. Let me tell you, some of these are all imported straight away from the what you call other countries, but did not find out. But we have our own designed and modified the constructed wetland system, which has been widely used across the world as a primary, secondary, and tertiary treatment. Now we have what you call a very simplified constructed wetland system, which consists of just 2 stabilization units with the 3 stone masonry walls, which are constructed right in the drain itself, and height would be just 5 centimeters above the water level, and a filtration zone which is nothing but composed of some 8 to 10 rock filters, very big rock filters, and then we have a constructed wetland unit which consists of ridges and furrows. In the furrows we use about 25 plant species. Now within 1 hour to 6 hours, 1 mld to 10 mld of water can be cleaned and have a water quality which is what you call has a quality and meet the standards prescribed for not only discharging but for bathing quality. Now what I want to say is, if we want to utilize this technology very effectively and successfully, you need to have a map of network of drains. Many cities do not have. You have a drains of different orders. First order, that is primary, second order, secondary, tertiary, and fourth order, fifth order, and finally they become reverse. Now what we are doing is in a reverse way. We handle bulk sewage by using STPs, and their performance is sometimes ineffective because of the Indian conditions. And we have in Delhi STPs which releases treated water with a BOD ranging from 30 to 150, which is almost equivalent to raw sewage. Now, if we have a network of drains map, we will identify the primary drain, you will identify the secondary drain, and we will identify the tertiary drain, and we will find it what you call fourth order drain. And if the flow is between 1 MLD to 20 MLD, you can utilize the technology which we have developed and which I have told to National Institute of Urban Planning, and they have been also working on it. And now what I want to say is these technologies are available but requires a standardization. And standardization is not easy with the biological systems. When we have treatment of these drains, we also develop what you call the vegetation buffers. What he says is biodiversity conservation is one aspect of a nature-based solution. The other aspect is the societal benefits is another aspect. Both are combined in this. And we have one system. Those who want to go and see, you can see Nelha's biodiversity park, where we have what you call a biodiversity as well as restoration of a wetland as well as what you call institute treatment of sewage. All three are combined together, and it has been functioning for the last what you call 10 years. But one problem with nature-based solution is until unless you operate and maintain them using one skilled person, they will go mad and they will not able to, they will become dysfunctional in a short period because the sludge comes out and the sediment comes out. Because of the sludge problem, these nature-based solutions creates a lot of problems. Now the question of standardization. I just interested to know about the standardization. About 1 year ago, the National Bureau of Indian Standards approached me to work out the standards in ecology and biodiversity. I said, how can you work out the standards for the biodiversity and any ecological factors, which are dynamic, which change in time and space, which also depends upon the what you call environmental factors. Now, how you estimate, how you standardize the ecological restoration, which is now a very important science for the restoration of the ecosystems, right, across the world. Now, how you standardize it? There is a Society for Ecological Restoration, International Society. They work out some generics, but when you go into the details, how? Ecological restoration is location specific, okay, a region specific. What ecological restoration package I do in Delhi cannot be applied in Coimbatore, or I cannot be applied in Chennai, or cannot be applied in what you call Eastern India, because the species are different. And I can't take the Delhi species and ask them to adapt to the, so this is a major issue. Now similarly, my constructed wetland system, how I standardize it? It depends upon the what you call characteristic feature of the drain, whether I am dealing with a primary drain or a secondary drain or a tertiary drain. And I also, I have finished. And I have to say, the kind of plant that you use it for what you call a treatment of the sewage. So that will also vary from place to place. So we may standardize it over a long period if you use a lot of statistics and come out some correlations, and then based upon the correlations, these are the standards, and these standards can fairly work out. But still, a big question is there, whether those standards would be what we call applicable in under different in different regions, under different climatic conditions, and different what we call hydrological conditions. This is all what I want to say. But I would request all of you to come to our Ahmedabad State Park and see. If you are lucky, you can see the leopard, and if not, you can see the other animals. And you can also see what our nature-based solution is working at Neraz. Is open, and anyone can walk in. There is no what you call entry fees or anything else. Thank you very much.
Journey is an inspiration to all of us, and your work or your contribution to Delhi is some of the best example of NBS in action. I also extend your invitation to all the participants to do visit some of the marvelous sites that he has been referring to, if not already. So thank you again, sir. Now we move to the core part of our session, the panel discussion, and we have with us Dr. Uday Bhonde. He'll be chairing, so may I invite Dr. Uday to please take your seat. Dr. Uday is a senior program specialist at NIUA, has more than about 15 years of work experience, and has worked with Center for Science and Environment before, and I think you're trained as a geologist. And beside that, he's also a very friendly person. I just thought I'll mention that, very easy to work with. And if I may now invite our three discussants. So Ms. Nidhi Batra, ma'am, if you can please join the stage. Ms. Nidhi is working as a biodiversity conservation and blue economy portfolio manager at AFD New Delhi. She is a development practitioner with about 2 decades of experience in urban sustainability, and she has also worked with the National Skill Development Corporation, has engaged with World Bank on issues of sustainable skills, and also lead place making initiative, as I learned, in India, across India, advocating for vibrant public spaces. Then may I now invite Ms. Yogita Lokhande. She is a program component manager for sustainable urban development, smart city EU project support in India at GIZ Delhi office. And she is an architect and an urban planner with about 2 decades of experience in the urban sector, working on policy support, knowledge exchange across issues of governance, planning, infrastructure. And may I also invite Dr. Pushp Bajaj, Program Lead Center Council on Energy, Environment and Water. He is a program lead at CEEW, Climate Resilience Program, working on assessing climate risks to India's critical infrastructure and vulnerable population, developing targeted adaptation strategies and exploring innovative finance models for climate resilience. Dr. Uday, may I ask you to please deliver your opening remarks?
Sure. Thank you very much, Jaidev, and very good evening to all of you. Thank you, Jaidev, for also telling that friendly person. I'll also try to do that in this particular panel also. And I'm extremely sorry that our director, she is stuck up in the ministry with the secretary's meeting, so she couldn't join, and she has conveyed her apology. But National Institute of Urban Affairs, as my colleague has already said, is a autonomous institution of a ministry, and we try to help our urban local bodies in terms of taking forward the innovative solutions, and also build their capacity in terms of actually taking forward the innovative solutions. So in that context, nature-based solutions is also a sort of a futuristic kind of approach. Of course, many cities in India have started to understand and appreciate that nature-based solution is something which is essential in terms of the future that we are looking. So because the title itself of this panel is Towards a Resilient Urban Future. We are looking forward towards urban cities in terms of livable, in terms of healthy, in terms of having the green spaces, and also the biodiversity flourishing, and so forth and so on, right? So that's what is our future, because we are very much witnessing in terms of the vagaries of the climate change, in terms of the unprecedented rainfalls, because that they result in the waterlogging in the areas that we every day experience during the monsoon season. And on the other hand, in the summers we have an extreme water shortage, right? So these are the two extremities that we have been witnessing very repeatedly since past decade or maybe 20 years. So how we take care of that, and then nature-based solution is one of the option that we have now, right? And also my colleague Mahreen has highlighted how NIUA is also trying to proliferate how the city officials are more empowered in terms of understanding, also trying to experiment with this, and also then mainstreaming these kind of nature-based solutions, because as Professor Babu said, the services that they can offer, the nature and the ecosystem that they can offer some functionality also, not only the beautified recreational area, because usually if we look at the nature-based solution or blue-green infrastructure or these kind of words, I'm sure the audience is quite familiar with this, then usually it comes that these are the recreational areas. These are the areas which are beautified spots in the urban local bodies. But then, as Professor Babu said, these are having a strong functions in terms of mitigating climate effects or helping us to relieve from the future climate prognosis, right, that we have. Now, in that context, we understand, the ULBs also understand, but then with that lies some challenges also, right? And that's the very purpose of the eminent speaker or the panelists that we have with us. Because NIUA closely work with the ULB, so we know that whenever we talk about this kind of nature-based solutions or the kind of things, they first ask is how we will procure them. Because that is something which is quite essential for them also. If they want to, for example, construct a sewerage infrastructure network, there is as Sir also said, prescribed standards, CPHEO manual, procurement schedule of rates. These are there, but then there lies a question: how they will procure this? Another point which also was highlighted by Professor Babu was: do we have enough skilled resources at the ULB levels who can understand, implement, also maintain and those kind of things? So do we have that kind of skilled resources? We might have a network of professionals, consultants who can understand, implement, but when we talk about the urban local bodies or cities, kya unke paas mein aisi skill hai? The third thing is, do we have financial instruments in terms of implementing these solutions? We have, say, skilled people. We have we have now standards also. We have a procurement mechanism also. But then, from where the funds will come, right? So this is something which is very important. And finally, can we also mainstream these kind of solutions into the overall planning process of the cities? We have, a lot of plans, like master plan we have a city development plans, and we know master plans have their statutory, status. Can we mainstream these kind of things? So these all things we also, when we implemented URMP at NIUA, or when we implemented we are currently implementing this Parvat Manthan under the Parvat Manthan different initiative, and also the nature-based solutions that my colleague Mahreen talked in the Bhubaneswar, we face the same questions, and that's where exactly our panelists are going to help us. Maybe and Yogita and Rahul, perhaps, right? I'm sorry. Yeah. So we'll discuss with them what kind of future lies for these kind of nature-based solutions. So if I may, begin with Nidhi. Like we know, we have a hustling and bustling urban spaces. We have buildings, and we have a lot of infrastructure. But when we talk about biodiversity, do you think that this is also something very essential for us as a human being living in the urban space, and also when we are talking about the resilient urban future? Where is the space of this biodiversity overall in your opinion? If you can, please share with us with your experience. Yeah.
Thanks. Is this working? Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Okay, so in respect to how biodiversity is positioned, and I love the way C.R. Babu was also speaking with such pride that there's leopard there in Yamuna National in Biodiversity Park. So biodiversity is not just, something which is about for us to feel good, which of course it does, but it is also an outcome indicator of that the ecosystems are now working well. The fact that leopard has come back is the greatest indicator that we could have in terms of ecosystem now functioning well again. And that's something which, in the urban environment is so essential. Unfortunately, up till now, we only look at output indicators. It's very limited to that, not even process indicators as such, but if you're reviving a wetland, you'll just look at, let's say, the water content, you'll see the BOD level, etc. The aspects of biodiversity don't really come in, even in terms of measurement of outcome or impact, but not even conceptualizing in the process. So, so it does not even come in while you are planning or designing, unfortunately. And in respect to, whether we are able to finance for biodiversity, that is also very limited. There are now emerging instruments like biodiversity credits. There's a whole discussion about carbon credit, and that's one of the reasons why CSRs are only interested to, let's say, give money for plants or trees. So everything is about a number of trees which are coming in. But if you look at biodiversity credits, that's some instrument which may support financing for biodiversity, which I think could be a positive way. But in respect to, opinion about how do we need to perceive biodiversity, I think it needs to be seen more as, as a very essential indicator of the process and the outcome, not just as a co-benefit of the entire NBS work that we're talking about. And there are ways in which something like that is happening. Another study recently, which AFD worked with IIHS, is on looking at, many of these NBS projects across India. And many of them were urban water linked projects, and many of them are, really working on the urban flooding challenges that you spoke about. And most of these projects don't incorporate biodiversity aspects. So they only looked from a myopic lens of, let's say, addressing urban flooding, but no aspects of whether biodiversity is being conserved, whether there are more species of birds, insects, what does that mean for ecosystem to actually stabilize and become more resilient. So that aspect is somehow still very missing in our planning frameworks.
Right. Yeah. Thanks, Anidhi, for reflecting, and very essentially you spoke about this credit part, because unless there is a incentives for the cities, they perhaps will not be able to appreciate that how it can be further implemented in the urban setting. So that's very essential point. How and unless it is mainstream in the entire planning process, it becomes very difficult to scale it up. Maybe there could be a sporadic instances at one or two places it is done, but not at the impactful level. So that's where your points are quite valid. And what we are going to do, Nidhi, we'll maybe take a second round when we finish the first discussion, and then also I'm sure we'll have some reflection from the listeners also, and thank you very much for being with us for this particular panel. And then we'll also hear your perspective. If you have any specific point that you would like to highlight and ask as a question to our panelists, we'll do that at the in a little while. So Pushp, you are from the CEWB, and a very impactful work is being done by the CEWB in overall how the this resilient future can be conceived. So when we say nature-based solutions, right, now it's also very essential that how we weigh them in parallel to the grey infrastructure, whether it is when we say a flooding, we imagine about the stormwater drainage network, but then there is also a nature-based solution in terms of doing that same function. So that's something very essential, that to understand that how we weigh nature-based solution in terms of its cost, its benefit, and also try to see that okay, they can work in a in sync with the grey infrastructure, or they can complement, rather I would say, a grey infrastructure. So if it is if it is a city has to adopt any nature-based solution, and they have to do the cost-benefit analysis, how actually they can do, if we can have your reflection on that. Yeah.
Right. Thank you very much. I don't know if this is working.
That's working.
but I can't hear myself in the.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll just try to speak loudly then. So great. First of all, thank you very much to the organizers, NIUA and IUCN, for inviting me to be a part of this panel. You can't hear us, no? Yeah. Can we check the audio, please?
Can you try this?
No, even that one is not working.
These are not working.
Okay.
I think the mic.
That is
They cut our audio.
Yeah.
Amazing.
so
Right.
it's like I'm a news anchor and then I'm trying to say that.
What do we do?
I think
Okay.
They want us to leave by 6. There's hardly any time left then, shall we?
That's from the host, and they're not agreeing KBBC are deleted because IIC has a policy that you have to leave by 6. Before that, because they have another event. So I tried to
Oh, they have
argue,
another
but
event
they are not
too.
listening.
Here only they have an event.
Maybe not, but they are saying you have to vacate, and they're not taking any excuse like somebody BBC.
No, it's fine. I mean, you take
Yeah,
the
yeah.
call.
Yeah, you
It's
take
fine.
the call. Let us know. Maybe Archana, you can also. So
uh,
we are extremely sorry because there was some delay in starting this panel, and I'm trying to understand from my organizer that in some point of time they're saying to wind up this particular session. So we are extremely sorry. But Jaidev, let us know. I mean, we have
This is working, right? So I'm really sorry to all of you, especially panelists. So IIC want us to vacate the room as soon as we can, but maybe
I think
you-
I mean just to because
you can come here because this is working. Yeah.
it's okay.
Maybe one minute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe I'm really sorry,
Yeah.
but then
Let
that's
me
what
go
is
on
the
Yeah. Let me go on the podium.
Yeah, that-
My
that
mic
would be.
is working.
I think it's become little informal panel now rather than the short.
Okay, it's working. Okay, great. Right, so I was just saying that thank you very much to the organizers, NIUA and IUCN, for inviting us here for the panel. On the topic of cost and benefit analysis and weighing grey infrastructure with green infrastructure, indeed that's an important problem which has been brought out by previous speakers as well. So in this regard, CEW actually has developed a toolkit which we call Ensure, which allows you to do a kind of cost benefit analysis of nature-based solutions, which was published earlier in 2024, and now we are converting that into a kind of a module or a dashboard that can be used by government and non-government stakeholders. We are also piloting it in Himachal Pradesh, and learnings from Himachal Pradesh, the pilot study, and also this toolkit will hopefully give us some context as to how to weigh these different solutions. Because definitely you mentioned how do we raise financing for nature-based solutions, and the equation is quite simple for investors in that sense. Whether it's private sector investor or a multilateral bank or whichever organization, the equation is very simple. They want to know what is the return on the investment. And so they need to know what are the costs and the benefits associated with a solution. If the return is not monetary in nature, then is it in terms of social benefits, environmental benefits? So all of that needs to be brought into the equation for us to make it not just a public good, but rather a bankable investment that can actually generate value. So I'm aware of the time, and I'll just pause there and we can. Yeah.
Tool, maybe it will be.
Yeah, the tool is called Ensure, ENSURE. So it's available on our on the CEW website, but the learnings from this pilot study and the toolkit format will come out later in the year. Yeah, great. Thank you very
Push
much.
for your reflection, and we are really sorry. Yogita, I mean, you represent GIZ, and GIZ has also come up with a nice guidelines in terms of how this urban context nature-based solution could be helpful to the ULB officials in terms of you. But we have been talking about, instances where it is being done, how whether really cities are doing or not, and your experience is more in Tamil Nadu. So do we have some insights or examples where we can say that yes, this has been done in Indian cities and it has a future?
Yeah. So I'll just tell you about the two things that we have worked on in Tamil Nadu. One, at the state level with the State Planning Commission, we have developed a framework for nature-based solutions, particularly in Tier 2 cities. So even before the whole urbanization pressure like the metropolitan cities actually sets in, to be able to give an guidance to the cities as to how do they start involving nature-based solutions when any kind of development starts happening is what the intention is. And we are looking at 6 aspects of it, from vulnerability assessment all the way to financial planning is what the toolkit has. In terms of way forward, the Tamil Nadu government is now has requested us to develop it into a digital toolkit, where they can put in basic data and understand how nature-based solutions can work over there. And the idea is not to work on pilot projects, but to try and scale it up to a city-wide level. Second thing that we worked on is a manual or a guideline for sponge park framework in Chennai. So in Chennai, it comes under the Deputy Commissioner Works under GCC, Greater Chennai Corporation. And because it's under him, what happens is it's not one initiative. They are trying to look at an entire linked ecosystem of this whole thing. So from neighborhood level parks, which are less than 0.1 acre, all the way to huge wetlands, to the stormwater drainage system into the sea, of how you're draining extreme rain water that comes in during extreme rainfall or cyclone kind of situations, but also how you're trying to retain and absorb the water into the whole thing. So it's a combination of green, blue and grey infrastructure, and that is helping Chennai to actually try and revive a lot of their lost biodiversity and ecosystems.
And of course, I remember there was a champion MD who
Yes.
actually,
Yeah.
took it and then it could be
Yeah,
done.
yeah.
I mean, that champion is also required when you want
So
to.
just one more thing, because we are working with 6 states and 6 partner cities, the whole idea is that we have done knowledge exchange with Chennai and with Tamil Nadu, and a lot of states, Assam, Telangana, Kerala, Odisha, have been very thrilled to try and do this in their cities also, in their states also. So because NBS is so context specific, it is not easy to just take the guidelines and apply it over there. So you have to do work. So we are trying to work on a very pilot kind of a roadmap in Guwahati and in on the outskirts of Hyderabad, to see how this can be adopted into their planning frameworks.
Thank you, Yogita. And just because the time is not permitting us to continue this wonderful discussion, but what I can quickly do is, if there are any reflection from the audience, any question, anything that you would like to check and talk to our panelists, that we can do. Yes, Anand, please.
Hi, my name is Anand Mitra. I'm working with the National Institute of Urban Affairs. Just a quick question. You mentioned a few states like Kerala, Andhra Pradesh, Odisha and Telangana, and also you spoke about the cost-benefit analysis of NBS. What do you think is the biggest barrier when it comes to acceptance, and what do you think is one of the strongest enabling factors that would allow the penetration of these solutions more naturally, organically?
Is this question too specific?
Yeah, to all the great minds are there.
Okay, but maybe Push, if you can, and then Yogita, you can complement it.
No, I think in terms of barriers, definitely. So first of all, there is a lot of acceptance, as Dr. Uday, you was also saying that,
Yes.
from at the city level by municipal corporations, they do recognize the value of green infrastructure, of nature-based solutions, and they are increasingly talking to us and asking us as to how to integrate these solutions. So for instance, the work that we did on heat resilience, there is a lot of interest in green spaces, in green roofs, green corridors, and such, and also for flood resilience, there is a lot of interest in sponge parks, bioswales and such, and recognition as well. I think the barrier that remains is the financing, where it is we are simply not able to make a strong case of financing such nature-based solutions in a very accurate way. So the benefits that we accrue from them, we are not able to quantify the non-economic benefits, the ecosystem services, the social services that they provide, and be able to make it as happening or as attractive an investment as a solar power plant, for instance. or a renewable energy plant. And that is a challenge that we see not just with nature-based solutions, but adaptation in general, adaptation and resilience in general. That is just the financing is significantly lagging behind mitigation financing because, like I was saying, it's still seen as a public good rather than a bankable investment. I'll pause there, Yogita.
Yeah, so just one more thing, the whole idea is that there are climate finance, specific climate finance that is coming in, whether it is global or at a national level. Even the Urban Challenge Fund that is going to be soon announced is going to focus a lot on this kind of approaches. But the only problem is that a lot of times when there are small approaches, the cost of the project is not as high. Like how he said, renewable energy is a much larger project. You have to build something and you get it inaugurated by a politician. But so for this, there has to be a change in mindset of even the financiers. You have to think of bundling of projects, which is very important, which we often don't think of or consider. So you're not talking about just one park and financing for that, but you're talking of a series of things within the ecosystem that can be financed by the large financing agencies.
Right.
So that is one approach that can be sought.
And one of the critical thing is that when we have any, like say for example road constructed or water supply, or not even water supply, but any such infrastructure, it is having some revenue stream. And here as a nature-based solution, as I said, it functions, and as Professor Babu also highlighted, there are direct and indirect benefit, and what you are saying is not non-measurable benefits. When these things come in picture, then it becomes a little complex, but there is a very bright future for the nature-based solution as far as the Indian context is concerned. Yeah, please, if you can introduce your...
This is Manjusha.
Yeah.
So in continuation to the same question, so nature-based solutions are great, they are implementable, it's cost effective and everything is there. But then once we're done with the implementation, who takes the ownership after that? So for example, if we take water rejuvenation projects, the coagulants for the rest of the life cycle of that particular water body relies on who takes the ownership and who adopts to that solution.
It's a very pertinent question.
How do you address that particular barriers?
Nidhi,
I
Push
can
or Yogita,
take it
please.
not from AFD experience, but otherwise. So I have an NGO which we worked on restoration of creeks in Gurgaon, and the model here working with the municipality is really that CSR money comes in largely for implementation, and then this question about who does O&M. Now if you look at our horticulture department, if you look at our junior engineers or ground, nobody is skilled to address O&M at the ground level, and there's no even if we give like a toolkit of O&M, it doesn't actually get implemented in that sense. So a lot of times we back in the process of designing have to actually rationalize that, okay, do I actually do this intervention, because it is very maintenance heavy, and I know that the municipal corporation, various departments who already work in silos will not be able to take it, so I don't do it and I do a more hybrid solution, because so NBS in its true spirit in India, you cannot only work with that, you really have to see in terms of hybridness in that sense, but also in terms of O&M which comes in, and O&M is much easier for a private entity to do. So if there is that entire for example this NGO is maintaining it for 3 years, it's much easier for a private entity. It has to go with its own procurement norms, no BIS standards, etc., your own contractor who has been skilled to do that. But if you are working with the municipality, their hands are bound. They have to work with their own contractors, their procurement processes are very limited. How do they even begin this process? So I think a lot of that, and also interdepartmental. So for example, in this example, one of the rains, and it is a creek which is supposed to handle urban flooding, a manhole became like a volcano, and then suddenly the entire thing is spurting up and there's sewage water. Who takes care of that? Not the division that we are working with, and they are calling up the other division and another roads division and actually making a road over the entire creek. So even departments don't really speak together. So they're very real implementation challenges on ground when you work with them.
Of course, I mean it's like complete ecosystem that needs to be prepared if we have to actually mainstream the nature-based solutions. So from the planning to finance to skill to maintenance and everything. But I'm extremely sorry we have to stop at this moment. But on behalf of NIUA and IUCN, I really thank Nidhi, Pushp and Yogita, for your valuable time to spend with us and also at this particular moment. So thank you so much, and looking forward for more discussions maybe when we are outside the room. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, IUCN, and thank you so much to all of you for your wonderful patience and being with us. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sure.
Wait, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your lovely presence. Thank you.